Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and today I'm talking about everyone's favorite Pokemon, Budew. And when I say everyone's favorite Pokemon, I mean not really anyone's favorite Pokemon, because this card is kind of annoying, but it is powerful and it has some interesting elements to it. But this card is currently very strong in Standard. I'd say it's probably a top 10 Pokemon in Standard. I'm not exactly sure where to rank it. Ranking Pokemon compared to each other is kind of weird, due to some various factors. But anyways, Budew is a card that is, it's a good card, right? It's been around since Prismatic Evolution. It's actually got reprinted in Ascendant Heroes, which is cool. It doesn't change its regulation mark, but it was reprinted, and we got a fun little art here. But ultimately, Budew, I think, is going to be even better in Standard post-rotation than it is pre-rotation because of a few different factors here. And we need to talk about what makes Budew good and why it's going to get better. And I was going to say what we can do about it. I don't really know. I'm not going to lie. Actually, I do. I do kind of know. But anyways, Budew, if you're not familiar, I imagine most who are. In fact, in Pokemon TCG Live, they literally added a learn to play feature, and it's like, what do stadiums do? What do supporters do? Whatever, right? And one of the things was, what does Budew do? This card is very good. I wouldn't say it's the best Pokemon in the game. I did a post rotation ranking video of the top 10 cards, in my opinion. I actually had Budew 10th, and it's because it has not because it has 30 HP. That is its weakness. It also doesn't really do damage. It does 10. It could even be bad that it does 10. But it item locks your opponent for free, and it has free retreat as well. This is very, very good, right? Item lock is good. It stops a few different things. So we'll kind of talk about what it stops. And there are obviously things it doesn't stop as well. But items are a big part of setting up in the Pokemon TCG, and stopping that can really slow your opponent down. One thing I will say, and I think there was definitely a time at which Budew was overrated. I suppose before it came out, people wanted this card banned before it came out. Not most people, but there were some people who said it, legitimately thought that was a good thing to do. Which I don't know, banning cards is so rare. Pokemon generally does a pretty good job of making cards not broken. Yeah, so they don't make all cards equal, but the cards in the top decks are good, but they're not unbeatable, right? But yeah, Budew wasn't unbeatable when it came out. It was annoying. It was good in Japan, and it's been good since it's been out. But you can get around it by playing other types of trainers, which I'll kind of talk about some. And also if if you attack with Budew, you're not doing something else. So you're not using a setup attack. You're not using a damaging attack. I mean, you technically are doing damage, but not really, right? So with Budew, I guess you could pair it with something like Frostlass to do damage, which we actually will talk about a little bit in this video. But you are going to be able to, use Budew instead of another option. So there's a bit of a trade-off, right? But it is still very good, right? You can really set up. You can power up something like and Dragapult is very, very powerful. You can power up your Dracloak, or get your Dracloaks into play, and get energy on them to power them up. A big reason why free attack and free retreat is so good means turn 1 going second, you can. It does play Latias EX. I'll ignore that for now. They could use that. But going second, you could go ahead and search out Budew with whatever, right? Every Pokemon search card in the stack. Well, okay, Hill doesn't, but every item search card, search out Budew. And you have a bunch of draw supporters, so presumably you'll get Budew. And then you have 2, so it shouldn't be prized. And then you grab it, put it onto your bench, and then you attach active and retreat. You can literally retreat any of your basics except for Blood Moon Luna EX for 1 energy. I guess Latias EX is different, but again, it's different. And you can also retreat that one. And you don't need to attach to Budew, right? You look at a Pokemon like Frillish, and standard Frillish is similar to Budew. It has more HP. It does more damage, and that's good. That being said, it requires a Psychic Energy, and it also has 3 retreat costs, right? So it has some very real downsides, and Budew's a lot better in general, because it's a card that allows you to get into it turn 1. Additionally, you can get out of it easily with free retreat, so you can commit energies to your attacking Pokemon, say I'm trying to think of an example. All the examples are kind of bad, but I guess Neo Upper Energy, you could attach that to Dragapult EX, assuming you have no energies on your board, turn 2, and retreat into it with Budew, with its free retreat there, right? So Budew is very powerful for those reasons. Nothing really changes with that. I guess it's hard to search Latias EX post-rotation. We are losing Nest Ball, so having free retreat is even better, I Yes, but I don't think that's a huge deal. Ultimately, Budew with rotation, I think is like that's not a huge deal there. But then you look at the other cards rotating, and so obviously a big way to stop Budew or kind of deal with it is by playing cards that aren't items, right? As I said, items are very important for setting up. You got Budew, Puffin, Ultra Ball, Nest Ball, which is rotating, but you have Pokepad as well, which is more or less replacing Nest Ball. I mean, they're different cards in what they search, but you can kind of replace it, and it's kind of a similar idea there. So there's a lot of item search setup cards. There is also rare candy not in this list here, but you find one with candy. Here you go. You have rare candy to set up, and this enables some really powerful plays, and Budew stops that. The only way to get past that would, I guess, be Grand Tree. Grand Tree is kind of weird. It's a cool card. I heard a video talking about Colossus Tenacity, and in some ways that goes there, but that's just another discussion. Check that video out after this one if you haven't, and subscribe so you don't miss future discussions on some really cool interactions and cards. But you can stop your opponent from playing rare candy, and you can essentially guarantee. I was gonna say guarantee get the first rare candy, not necessarily if your opponent also uses Budew, but it also makes it harder for them to get there. But so it like really puts you in a favorable position going second, which is very good. Additionally, going second, you can use a supporter, and supporters are a big thing. Pokemon TCG. I always stress that supporters are kind of the backbone of decks. And the main supporters that I think are good are, the setup supporters. There's Boss, obviously, it's a very good card, arguably the best card in the game. As I said, made my ranking video. I believe I put it at 2. My thoughts are always changing a little, but Boss is very good. And then you look at the 4 main setup supporters in standard. You got Arven, you got Iono, you got Lilies, and you also have not Boss. You got Research, and first Research is it draws you a bunch of cards. Same thing with Iono and Lilies Determination. These all draw you a bunch of cards. Drawing cards, it's obviously good, right? They have their pros and cons and whatever, but these cards are all very powerful. And using these, it's an okay way to deal with Budew. If you play more supporters instead of items, yes, these aren't necessarily going to get what you want, but they're certainly getting you more than Nest Ball and Ultra Ball are, which don't do anything because you can't play them. So these cards are good. And same thing with Arven as well, but I'll get to Arven in just a second. But for this first session, I'll just say it's like grouped in with the other ones. It's not the same, but it follows some similar ideas of a supporter helping you set up. And Arven, Iono, and Research are all rotating. And as I said, I've done some talk about post rotation. I've recently made a video about cards that are replacements for cards rotating, like Research. I said play Carmen. I don't know. I said play Judge. Arven said play Team Rocket's Petrol. Literally, all those options are essentially the same card, but they get you less cards. Not the same card, but they're similar. But they get you less cards, which means they're worse, right? Like you're going to be playing these more mediocre supporters that aren't going to help you set up as much. So placing those is not going to be so good there for getting out of Budew because you're just running a lower quality of card there. And then what are you going to do? Hope you get Lili's Determination, I guess? You could, Meowth the X for it, but, you don't have Meowth, and you can't search it with Ultra Ball. I mean, you could have Meowth, but you probably don't. So, it's just going to be more difficult to deal with because we are losing some of these counter cards. Additionally, I mean, this list is actually a perfect example. Arven, obviously, gets you an item and a tool. You can't use the item. The item's generally going to be the better part of this card. That being said, there are some good tools, specifically TM Evolution. There's also TM Turbo Energize, but I'll just talk about TM Evolution and Artizone. As I said, items are mainly, they do a couple things. They also do recovery, but that doesn't really matter with Budew. I've never actually had a game where Budew stops someone, deck them out by, stopping from recovering or, something like that. Tell me in the comment section if you've had that happen in the game. I know it's possible, but I just haven't seen it. But Artizone and TM Evolution are both Pokemon search cards. They're very good as well. And they are not they're not items, right? These are Team Evolution is a tool which is searchable. Artizone isn't searchable, but it is a good card. I mean, it's kind of searchable, but not really. In actual decks that play at it, you're not probably running Colossus Tenacity there. You could run Team Rocket's Petrol, right? But people don't do that in post rotation. I mean, Artizone's rotating, right? So these two cards are leaving the format. There are ways to set up through Budew, and you can't really do that. As far as I'm aware, there aren't really good ways to set up through Budew that are just good cards in general. I mean, there's obviously there's always draw Pokemon, but which are like okay, but there's nothing amazing in my opinion that like I mean there's Lunatone Soul Rock, but you really gonna get that set up. I'm not convinced about that. Um, there is the new Psyche 2, which I do like, but obviously that's a little specific there. So ultimately, these cards rotating are all really nice against Budew and keep you afloat. Yes, they have downsides. TM Evolution. You kind of need to be set up in some ways already, and you need the energy. You need some pieces. Art Zone, it helps your opponent. The Iono could help your opponent, or these cards might not get you what you're looking for, but they are pretty good starting points, and we are losing these. Looking at post rotation, we can see that's not the right thing to click. Let's look at City League tournament results. We'll look at this Dragapult list here, and we see Brock Scouting. Brock Scouting is a way to deal with this as well. I'm personally not a fan of Brock Scouting. I mean, it is good against Budew. I'm not going to sit here and deny that, but it's mostly like just good against Budew. I mean, it's not that good of a card. It gets you either two basics or an evolution. You look at Team Rocket's Petrol. Assuming you're not Budew, you could get I mean, yes, this would get you Pheasant if EX or whatever, so it has some use cases, but for the most part, it's kind of not super powerful for a supporter. It's kind of like Ultra Ball in a supporter, and you don't want to be ideally running this. Yes, it can get you Drake Cloak to draw or whatever. It's not a bad card, but you have this as an option, but it is just a lower quality of card. Look at something like this. Yes, you have something like Dawn as well. You have Hilda, which I mentioned, but there's Dawn. But again, Dawn, I mean, I just don't think these supporters are super good. They're okay, and against Budew, they're good. And Hilda, you have the Telepath Psychic Energy as well, and also Enriching Energy, which I actually do like quite a bit there, but like, I don't know, you're still slowing yourself down. You're playing weaker cards, and then I feel like a deck like Alakazam, this deck's so bad against Dragapult, or you just get like obliterated, and this like applies to any deck. I mean, Dragapult turn 2 or maybe like turn 3 or whatever, if you're really slowing them down, you can do 330 damage to their active using Dragapult EX's attack plus Duststorm, and there's not that much they can do about it. There's some stuff, though. Additionally, the other deck that is really using Budew very well is Frostlass. Frostlass with either Myers Grimstone EX or with Mega Starmie EX. I'm interested in seeing exactly how good this deck is in the long run. But yeah, while you're kind of setting stuff up, and while you're Frostlass, you can use Budew to slow things down. It's like super good. There's also Pokemon like Maractus. I haven't really played too much Maractus with Frostlass, to be honest. Tell me in the comment section, how big of a deal is it that it has an ability? That's always felt kind of sketchy to me because, you are going to damage yourself with your own Frostlasses, and you can like kind of heal it off, but not fully. I mean, I think there's some way in which you can heal it off fully, but it's kind of clunky, right? So, Budew is a nice Pokemon to slow things down and get damage while you're at it. It's good. You're less so setting up for a big, impressive play, and more so just buying time because time equals damage. But ultimately, also, okay, this deck, I don't know, I'm not very familiar with this deck. I'm just like looking at it a little bit. Crispin and like Legacy Energy seem like interesting plays in the deck. As I said, I don't really, I'm not super familiar with it. I mean, obviously, I haven't played with it like on ladder, and I haven't played with it like in testing or anything either. But yeah, I mean, you also have, I mean, you look at this deck. This deck is different. It's using Prillish and Jellicent in the EX, but you're just like kind of buying time, then setting up for big Dust Storm plays. And you still have these powerful payoffs, specifically with Dustor, which I mentioned with Dragapult. I mean, this is so powerful, and what are you going to do about it? There's not that much you can do, right? You're not going to be able to find your Pokemon as easily. And as I said, you can play these supporters which search for Pokemon, which are okay counters to Budew, but they are hurting your deck overall for Budew. Unlike with something like Arvin or like, I mean, just like other supporters which are okay against Budew and a lot better in general. I mean, and also if you're playing cards that counter Budew, that's a sign that the card's good, right? If you need to counter it, it's a good card. So overall, I just think Budew is going to be super good post rotation. I'm just hearing your thoughts down below in the comment section, though. I'm not 100% sure exactly how good it will be. I mean, when we're looking at these like very, very good cards, it's hard to kind of rate them against each other because they're different and they're really good, and like some are set up Pokemon, some are these big damage Pokemon. Some are these like powerful mid-game utility Pokemon, stuff like that. But Budew is super good, and I mean it's a very good card just in general. And this is not too much you can do about it. Also, I guess I will mention the last thing is that there is a Mikidori. I often get comments, me, I don't think Mikidori is super. I mean, okay, I think the card's like a good card, but I don't think it's like, I've talked about a lot in the past. But Mikidori isn't really a counter to Budew. Like I sometimes get people are like, yeah, it's like literally like free prizes. Like one, it's not free, but two, like you need to hit into them a bunch for them to get damage on the board. What are they gonna Team Rocket's Venture Bomb or Risky Ruins? They can't Team Rocket's Venture Bomb, and Risky Ruins like need to do it first. It's not really gonna work, right? So ultimately, I don't think there's really that much of a way to capitalize on this. There is something like, I mean, Mikidor is like kind of okay. There was Frost last, but again, you need to like be decently well set up. And those decks are also playing Budew, right? Like it's not like that's a way in which Badew's bad. It's still good in that situation. Then there's also a card, like I think there's Mega Starmie, which I mean it does run Frost Dust in Budew, but like that is a way to like get some damage around Dusclops as well. But then you're spending a decent chunk of resources. You're not getting rid of a threat. I mean, Badew's good, but it's not like the ultimate payoff, right? So if your opponent's going after Budew instead of like your Dreepy or your whatever like previous evolution, then that's still fine for you more or less, and it's easy to get back and just like play again as well. So ultimately, I think Budew is going to be like super crazy good post rotation, and I've said this before. I think Dragapult's going to be super crazy good post rotation. I feel like it's like the best deck by like a lot personally. I've said that before, and I don't know. I mean, rotation's always interesting. There's always going to be some decks that kind of come out of nowhere, like Mega Starmie, but we'll see exactly how good these are. But tell me your thoughts down below in the comment section. But I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, all the good stuff. And as I was said, see you in the next video.